there, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. This is Michelle Dumas, and this is a video that I have been planning to make for a very long time, because one of the primary things that I see people struggling with when they use our resume templates and all the matching templates that go along with them are the headers and footers of the document. Now, the truth is that it is a little bit confusing until you understand how headers and footers work. And I hope this video will finally solve that confusion for you once and for all, and also help you with any other Word documents that you work on, not just the resumes from our resume template collection. This resume on my screen right now is from our Bold Solutions collection, and this is a really good example of how headers and footers are used in the templates that I create. So first, let me explain to you why it is so important that you include a header or footer on the second and third pages of a resume. So really there are two reasons. Now, number one is that you want to make it exceptionally easy for the recipient of the resume to contact the resume owner. So by including the name and contact information on the second page, and on any other pages that go along with the resume, you make it just really easy to find. The person, they don't even have to think about it. But then the second reason is just in case the pages of the document get separated in some way, so that we still know who they belong to. And this is kind of a holdover from the days when resumes were printed all the time. I realize that they aren't printed as often anymore. However, it's still possible that the documents could get separated, and so if somebody were to find that second page of the document, you still want them to know who it belongs to. So it's also important to understand that if a resume is entered into an applicant tracking system in this Microsoft Word format, the ATS is not going to read anything that is in the headers or the footers. So this is the body of the document, right? And this is the header. So if the ATS were going through and reading this, that's not quite the right word for it, but if it were parsing the information and including it in the database, it would see this information and it would skip the header. Okay, and that is what you want. But that is why it is so crucially important that on the first page, you always include the contact information, the name and the contact information in the actual document itself, in the body of the document. Otherwise, if you put it in the header of the first page, say, and this Microsoft Word resume was entered into an applicant tracking system, there would be no name and contact information along with it. And this is even assuming it would somehow make it into the ATS without the expected info at the top. But either way, the result is the same. You've maybe sent out 100 different resumes and you've got 0 response, and you don't really know why. And I hate to say it, but this is one of the major problems that I've seen in countless other resume templates, and that's true of even the resume templates that you'll find for free in Microsoft Word. And I hate to see it because most job hunters don't know any better, and this can really hurt their job search results. So this is why our templates are formatted as they are. The first page always has the name and the contact information right in the body of the resume, right at the top of the resume. And then on the second, and if there's any additional pages, third pages or whatever, you're going to see the name and contact information in the header. So this particular resume includes graphics in the headers and footers of all the pages, and also the contact information starting with the second page. Okay, so I'll scroll through so you can see that. Now, if you were working on a blank document, you can just double click at the top of the screen. So you just double click up here and you'd insert your header or footer information in here, okay? And then the other way that you could do it would be to insert and then come over here to header and footer, and you can insert the headers and footers from over here as well. Of course, I've already included them on all of these templates, so you don't need to do that. So basically, to use this, all you would do is you would click in here and change the name and the contact information. So put put my own name in there and whoops, put our phone number in there. So now if I were to click down here and I'm working on this resume, say, and it goes over to a third page, that information is going to be automatically inserted, so I can then just continue on with the document. Now, you'll also notice that the page number was here. I didn't do anything to it. It was just inserted automatically, and it's saying page 2 of 3. So now if I were to back out of this second page, let's go back and make this a 2-page again. This is going to say page 2 of 2. It just does it automatically, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. A couple more things I want to show you here. First, you're going to notice that when you view the document on the screen, the header and the footer looks a little bit faded out. It's kind of this faded out red color, almost a pinkish color. The blacks, even of the header and footer, are kind of a grayish color. And this is just Microsoft's way of letting you know when you're working on a document on your screen. This is the body document, this is the body text, and this is the header text. So let's, if I were to click up here, watch what happens. So now this, because I'm working in the header, this is grayed out, and this is full color. So if you're wondering what the actual color will be when you print this document, it's going to be this actually deep red color that you see when you're actually working in the document. So the way it looks on the screen isn't quite the way that it would print. And you can tell that by looking at, say, this PDF of it. So it's been converted to a PDF here, and this is the colors that it would be when it was actually printed or saved to a PDF. Or the other way that you can tell is you can come over here to File, Print, and take a look at how it looks in the preview. That if you ever have any doubt about how it would look, that's a good way to tell. All right, so the other thing that I wanted to show you is that when you click on this header to edit this, you'll notice that this ribbon opens up here, this header and footer ribbon. And there are a lot of different options in here, and really the best way to learn how all of the options work is to experiment with them. Now, you're not going to want to experiment when you have a completely finished document. I would encourage you to experiment when you it's just a test document. So for example, you could open up one of the templates and just kind of play with it to see what the different options do. Some of the ones that I would typically use is this one, this position tab. So what this is doing, and watch what happens when I change it. It is saying, it's specifying the distance from the top or the bottom of the page, the header. See how it's changing? So by default, it's at 0.5, so a half an inch, and typically that is where I would leave it. You can also do things like you could insert the date and time, you know, and there's different options for how to do that, and that would update automatically every time the document was opened. You can input document information, like the author's name, that would be my name, or the file name, or the file path. Those are things that I wouldn't typically use on a resume, but you might find them useful on other types of documents. The one that I do use often, and it's this page number one, and this is something that I see people make lots of mistakes with. So if I were to, let me take this out, and let's say I just put in the name page and then 2. Okay, well, it makes sense. It looks good on this document, right? But if I were to page down now, it says page 2 on page 3, and that's not what you want, right? So the way to do it is to put in a page number that automatically updates. So the way that you do that is when you click on the header and footer over here on the page number, you come down here to current position, and then you select the way that you want it to look. So this is the one that I often use. The page, it shows how many pages of how many pages. But you could also do, another option would be to just put something like that. Let's go back to the one that I had. That's the one that I like. Now, also, when you open this, and here is something that trips people up an awfully lot, these options here. So again, the best way to learn what these options do is to experiment with them. Now, this one on the bottom is an obvious one. So if it's checked, you're going to see the body text. If you uncheck it, the body text is hidden, so all you're doing is working on the header and footer. The other option here is this different first page. Now this I almost always use when I'm working on a resume, and it's checked, and let me show you why it's checked. If I uncheck it, this header is entered onto the first page, and I don't want it entered onto the first page. You know, I wanted the first page to look clean because the contact information is actually in the body of the document. So that is something that I would leave checked. This different odd and even pages, I have used that on occasion. The reason that you would use this is that you want the third page to be completely different than the second page. So if you wanted page 2 and page 4 to look the same, and page 1 and page 3 to look the same, that is when you would use that. It's not that helpful for a resume, so I do recommend that you usually leave that unchecked. So again, experiment with those things. Okay, so a couple more things that I want to show you. So first, imagine that this is a perfect 2-page resume that you've been creating, and you're down to the very bottom of your second page, but you still have a lot of technology skills that you want to include, and you decide that you, rather than creating a third page to the resume, which isn't ideal, you decide to create this other document, an addendum to the resume that could or could not be included. So if I page down, as you know, what's going to happen is we're going to end up with the header on the third page, and we don't want this because we don't want it to be a part of the resume. We want it to be a separate document. So let me show you how to fix this, and it is really deceptively simple, and yet so many people have trouble with it. So what you want to do is this. Come up here to your search thing and just type in insert, and you'll get some options will pop up. One of them is going to be this insert page section breaks. What you want to do is you want to insert a section break and start the new section on the next page. Okay, so I'm going to do that, insert a section break and start the new section on the next page. And the header from the first page is now what's showing up here. It's a completely new section, so I've got a new first page, and the header and the footer from the first page is showing up. But I don't want that. The way that you change that is this. You double click on it, and now you see this option. It says first page header section 2. Up here it's showing you header section 1, and this is section 2, and then this showing same as previous. So what this means is that it's the same header and footer as the previous section, and we want to change that. So up here on the header or footer tab, see this is selected, linked to previous. I'm going to unlink it, and now I can remove that out like that, and I have a completely separate document with no header or footer. So that's how you change that. And then finally, one last thing I want to do is talk about the headers or footers that I use on other documents. So here is the biography that goes along with this. And of course, the perfect biography is no longer than 1 page. And so I'm hoping that when people use these biographies that they make them no longer than 1 page. But of course I have no control over that and how they're used. So I do always include a header or footer, just in case it carries over to a second page. But of course it's this generic one until it's changed. So you actually have to change it. And this is what I would recommend that you do. Let me change that. And then put in the phone number here. So what I recommend you do is when you create a biography, when you get down to the first page, just kind of page through, pull up that second page header, put in the information, and then go back page up again and save the document. And that way, if at any time this document were to go on to a second page, it would no longer have that generic header. It would have the correct name and contact information in that second page header. So there you have it. And I really hope that this was helpful to you. Again, I encourage you to really experiment with headers and footers. They're powerful and they can be a little bit confusing, but once you really grasp how they work, it's so much easier. So please continue to send me your questions so I can make more videos like this in the future. Thanks, and of course, always reach out to me if I can help with anything.